Donald Trump, good morning, faced a mix of cheers and boos.
Have actually put everything on the line to resist these despots and these stuff. Nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa, that's nice.
I saw a wave of red hats at the Libertarian Convention. Donald Trump's popularity continues to increase.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. So you remember the last time we featured Tim Scott in this space.
Will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins? Just simply yes or no.
I expect President Trump to win the next election. Listen, I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question.
Well, now he's back because Byron Donald's been doing way too much.
But in about 5 months, there is one guy who's going to turn all that around, and he's the 47th president, Donald J. Trump.
Hey, Byron, what does it say on the wall over there? Huh? What does it say on the wall? That's right, Tim Scott, Donald Trump's black friend. Well, go ahead and head back to Florida with DeSantis and them and get some of your own. Shuffle on, Tim.
Donald Trump, good morning, faced a mix of cheers and boos at the Libertarian National Convention. What did you make of that response?
I saw a wave of red hats at the Libertarian Convention. Donald Trump's popularity continues to increase. But then he's not just going to the Libertarian Convention. He's also doing rallies in Bronx. He's doing something what I consider a 50-state strategy. He doesn't just want to win the votes of the American people. He's trying to win the hearts of the American people, unite our country, and start steering us towards the strongest, most powerful, prosperous future we could have. So I give him a lot of credit and going to places where Republicans have not gone before. If we're going to win this election cycle, we must go where we're not invited.
Well, that's part of the problem. He always going where he's not invited. Why don't he respect boundaries?
We must go where we're not invited. And to see the former president take that seriously is, in my opinion, a strong sign, and one of the reasons why, Dana, we are seeing the poll numbers moving in his direction. It's pretty exciting to see the kind of response he's getting across the country.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tim. This might be the only time I agree with you in this whole video. That was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting. I can't wait for somebody to go ahead and make a remix like they did the 6 Bs, because I would rock to that.
Closing arguments in the criminal trial in New York. They are set for Tuesday. The jury could deliver a verdict later this week on 34 felony charges. I know you've criticized the prosecutors and the judge, but this case will ultimately be decided by 12 ordinary citizens. Do you have faith that the jury is going to deliver a fair verdict?
Well, there's no crime, so I assume that they will actually find him innocent. The only person guilty in that courtroom is D.A. Bragg, guilty of corrupting the justice system, guilty of not doing his job, and guilty of trying to frame an innocent man. It's really the two-tier justice system that has so many Americans concerned about fairness in our country.
I'm sorry, what the hell you just say? Who you think, you Stephen A. Smith?
But just to be clear, you have faith in the jury system, and in particular, again, these 12 ordinary Americans who are going to ultimately decide.
I know that 96% is the number I've heard of the number of Democrats in that area of Manhattan. So I hope that they come to the right decision. I assume that he will be found innocent. I just want to reinforce what I've said previously, however, that a two-tier justice system is one of the reasons why his poll numbers are going up. There is something instinctive in Americans who want to see justice play out, We don't want to see the weaponizing of our justice system against our political opponents. We want to see fairness, no thumb on the scales. If that's the case, he will be found innocent.
Okay, so what you have right here is a black man representing South Carolina talking about a two-tier justice system as reflected by Donald Trump, a man walking around free, putting up triple-double numbers of indictments, who've been in court for decades. And the fact that he even has to bother to show up to court as a free man, it is an example of a two-tier justice system. This man couldn't find a better example of a two-tier justice system than that. He clearly is so detached from all blackness and everything associated with his state that he is not only unfit to represent them, he's unfit to represent anybody. I mean, what's next? Why don't you hold hands with Trump and sing "We Shall Overcome"? How about that? You know what I'm saying? We shall overcome. Go ahead and get Stephen A. Smith to hold hands too, which is three of y'all. We shall overcome. You know what? These are the trials and tribulations that Malcolm and Martin foretold.
Well, I want to turn to a different case, a federal case where there was a raid on Donald Trump's house because they were looking for some documents that he didn't turn over voluntarily. Federal prosecutors are now asking for a gag order in that classified documents case after the former president said that FBI agents who searched Mar-a-Lago were, quote, locked and loaded, ready to take me out, and that he nearly escaped death. But Senator, that same language was also in the order for President Biden's home. So do you agree with the Attorney General that this is not only false, what the former president said, but extremely dangerous?
I haven't found myself agreeing with Attorney General Garland on any issue. I will say I saw the video of the SWAT team from the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago. I have not seen the same video of them raiding Joe Biden's garage. So I'd love to have that comparison.
You know what, Dana Bash, why don't you go ahead and step aside? If that's all the smoke you got for him, I got this. This man, your man, claimed he barely escaped death for a clause that was also in Biden's warrant. How can you possibly explain this nonsense when we know neither one of them is escaping anything?
But more importantly, once again, we find ourselves reinforcing this two-tier justice system where we see a different standard for Republicans and specifically a different standard for Donald Trump.
Here we go again with the two-tier justice system. You know who I want you to tell that to? Go ahead and tell Eileen Cannon. Yeah, go ahead and tell Judge Eileen Cannon about two-tier justice system. Go ahead. Matter of fact, you don't even have to go too far because it looks like you're in Washington, D.C. Go ahead up to the Supreme Court. Go ahead and talk to Alito and Clarence Thomas, huh? Go ahead and talk to Alito and Clarence Thomas. Go ahead and talk to Alito, who had a flag up, a partisan flag up, or Clarence Thomas accepted money from donors who are the ones weighing in on Trump's case. Go ahead and tell me about weaponizing the justice system. How about a gag order that if it was anybody other than Donald Trump would be in jail right now? But the fact that he even has to have a gag order imposed on him, he don't have to abide by it. Because Lord knows he ain't. But the fact that he even had to have a gag order imposed on him is an example of a two-tier justice system. I don't understand how you've been operating these last 4 years when clearly Trump is your king.
So there is a fear among conservatives that this weaponizing of the justice system, if they'll do it to Donald Trump, they'll do it to anyone.
Wait a minute. Is that a book behind you? So is this redemption something that's happening in the future? Like, is there going to be like a whole part 2? Is this like the beginning of your testimony in church where you out cavorting with criminals and debasing yourself and giving in to the worst of our nature? Is this that part of your testimony right now? Because I don't see the redemption nowhere around. I don't see that. I mean, we might have to bring Mindy in to help us with that. That is, of course, if Mindy's still around.
Okay, and I just want to, one last time, what I'm asking you about is rhetoric that could end up dangerous, and you keep answering about Joe Biden. So is there anything you want to talk about with regard to that rhetoric?
Well, the rhetoric that really concerns me is not coming out of emails. They're coming on college campuses when we're seeing the actual physical violence against our Jewish students playing out. What we're seeing is anti-Semitism spreading. We're seeing the spreading of hate. We're not having to figure out what's going to happen. We're actually seeing violence on college campuses. And yet the Democrat Party sits there, hands folded, letting it play out. We have to stand in the gap for those Jewish students. So I am very concerned about actual violence that we're seeing play out on our college campuses. Every single college president should hear me clearly. Your federal funding, it is a privilege, not a right. What is a right is for Jewish students to go to class safely, to study in libraries in peace. That's not a hyperbolic situation. That is actual facts on the ground on college campuses. So while rhetoric can be hampered, tamped down some, there is one place where we're seeing it manifest physically, violently, and it is disgusting.
Did he just do what I think he did? He just do what I think he did? Oh, okay, so let's just get away from the rhetoric I was asked about, you know, the whole bloodbath and the Fourth Reich that was in the ad, and of course the thing that was posted about Biden tied up on the truck. No. Let's talk about what's going on these college campuses. Okay, since you brought it there, are you talking about the Jewish students that got pepper sprayed that were protesting, or the ones that got arrested that were protesting? Because of course, everybody else that was brutalized, that was protesting and arrested for exercising their First Amendment, we don't give a shit about them, right? We don't care. There's no political points to be made with them. So you must be talking about the Jewish students that were among them who you feel. No, you weren't talking about them. No, you not them either. Okay. All right. Cool.
I want you to watch a new ad from the Biden campaign this week.
Donald Trump disrespecting black folk is nothing new. It's why Trump stood with violent white supremacists, warned of a bloodbath if he loses the next election, and if he's president again, vowed to be a dictator who wants revenge on his enemies.
So, Senator, what do you say to Black Americans, Black voters who watch that ad and share those concerns about Donald Trump?
Well, here's what I can tell you is that under Donald Trump, we were better off. What? There are two things that are driving black votes back to Donald Trump: jobs and justice. Number one, under Donald Trump, our wages were going up. Right now, fairness is going down. But if you're really concerned about racial justice in America, let's not forget Joe Biden is the guy that talked about racial jungles as a result of desegregation. What? Let's not forget the fact that Joe Biden is the president who said, if you don't vote for me, you can't be black. An old white dude telling me I can't be black. This is the president who said that if the Republican Party wants to put you back in chains. What? The only person I've seen restraining black folks economically is the Joe Biden economy. What? So I find it quite insulting to suggest that Joe Biden does not have serious concerns when his own Vice President Kamala Harris said he supported segregation. What? And if you look in cities like Chicago today, the elimination of charter schools under Joe Biden resegregates schools in America. We need 4 more years of common sense under Donald Trump and not 4 more years of segregation under Joe Biden and his approach to allowing poor black kids to go to any school in their own cities.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
You are saying that Joe Biden is for segregation? I mean, isn't that a little too far?
Let me say it clearly. The schools in our largest cities are being resegregated. Joe Biden's Department of Education has halted the growth of charter schools that provides greater diversity and opportunities. In the city of Chicago today, poor black kids are not allowed to go to public schools in their own city. The President of the United States refuses to stand up to the teachers' unions, and as a result, the future of these kids will be lower and devastated because the closest thing to magic in America is a good education.
Oh, Tim Scott, I hate to be the one to break it to you. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but I got to look at this whole Project 2025 thing, which, by the way, I have a whole video coming out all about. And yeah, it looks like it actually wasn't the Democrats that were trying to resegregate the schools. It was your man's. But wait, you know that. You know that, don't you? Yeah. Oh wait, no, you didn't. You didn't know that. You didn't. They didn't let you look at Project 20. Wow. So this must have been, he hang out with you, but then he act like he don't know you when he around the other friends. That's okay. Oh, you are that one. Okay, you are that black friend that he only hangs out with you in private, so you didn't get a look at Project 2025. Well, I can tell you this whole thing isn't going to age very well at all. I'm shocked that he let you come out here and embarrass yourself like this, but it's probably funny to them. They probably having a good laugh.
A lot of Republicans have been refusing to commit to accepting the election results in 2024. You haven't done so yet. So let me ask you it this way. You will be a sitting United States Senator in January of 2025. Will you vote to certify the election no matter who wins?
Well, certainly, we expect a fair and honest election, and as a result of that expectation, we will certify the election and certify President Donald Trump as our 47th president.
Okay. Senator Tim Scott, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
CNN, I don't know how many times I have to tell you I have absolutely no soul. I don't care how you try and ask a question that allows me to exhibit some semblance of self-pride and decency. I don't have it to give.
Hey, who mess is this? Oh my God. Oh, man, is this?
It turns out that the great people of New Jersey don't like higher taxes, they don't like foreign wars, and they don't like a president who can't stay awake all day.
All done by Biden. Carried out by Ray. That's right.
President Donald J. Trump.
Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen the Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter.
There is weird, and then there's New Jersey weird.
He's doing quite a good job. What do you think, Lawrence Taylor? Yes? Doing a great job. Look at those two guys, OJ, Lawrence, my golfing friends.
Oh, nah. We not doing this. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Donald Trump finally awoke in the courtroom after a day of hearing orange turd.
Really seemed to relish saying orange turd. How many times did he say it? We didn't have the drinking game going, but we might as well have.
Over and over and over again. By the way, the link is in the bio if you missed any of it. And he was now finally free to campaign.
All done by Biden. Carried out by Ray. That's right.
You know what, Don? Why don't you take some time and get yourself together? Let some people warm up the crowd for you.
There's a long-standing American principle
And President Trump would never do this. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Oh, you mean like this? Or perhaps like this?
Well, thank you very much. And you know what that was? That was, I call them the J6 hostages. Not prisoners, I call them the hostages. What's happened?
Yes, some of that choir that he likes to parade around has in fact been convicted of acts of terrorism.
President Donald J. Trump.
I'm sorry, come again?
President Donald J. Trump.
Let's hear it for President Trump, y'all. Yeah, give it up. Trump, 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 Trump.
Carried out by Ray. That's right.
Ooh, Trump, it is still bad. Quick, bring somebody else on stage.
He's doing quite a good job. What do you think, Lawrence Taylor? Yes? Doing a great job. Look at those two guys, OJ, Lawrence, my golfing friends.
OJ? Who's gonna tell him?
Don't you just love that guy? Don't you just love that guy?
Oh, he meant former New York Giant Otis Anderson. Whew. But Lawrence Taylor?
I just want to say, I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here. I'll tell you what. He will not have to worry about nobody in my family ever vote for a Democrat again.
Man, ain't you supposed to be in jail? And no, I'm not referring to anything specific, just, 4+ decades of mischief. But I do see Trump cornering the ex-con electorate, though.
Silence of the Lambs. Has anyone ever seen a Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. As this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner, but Hannibal Lecter. Congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter. We have people that are being released into our country that we don't want in our country.
Wow, we are going after imaginary criminals now. I'm surprised he didn't bring up Heisenberg or your censure in Jersey, Tony Soprano. That is crazy. Now imagine what the Fox outrage would be. Just imagine if Biden said,
the late, great Hannibal Lecter. He's a wonderful man.
I mean, just imagine how much heads would explode. I mean, this is how they reacted to Biden, sounding like Trump.
It offends me when people talk to me and us like we're dumb. What you make is such a dumb example. We know what we're not talking about you or me or her, anyone making an occasional gaffe.
I don't think you're dumb.
We're talking about gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. No, you're not dumb. You're insulting. Gaffe after gaffe after gaffe after gaffe.
And speaking of,
if you look at you take a look at Xi, President Xi of China, talking about Beijing. Now, they've got ships circling, they have planes, but they never were doing anything.
Oh, you mean he's talking about one of the major cities of his own country? The horror, a city that happens to be landlocked, by the way. So what exactly are these ships that you're talking about?
The people they're going through your country in caravans. I think it was the name I developed. I developed a lot of names. You notice that? People's names, Pocahontas, lots of different names.
People of what? You didn't finish that statement. And are you intimating that you came up with the word caravans? That is in fact a word that exists, sir. I don't know why you're taking credit for that one. Are you also claiming you came up with Pocahontas? Like, are you claiming you came up with names of real people? Wow. Soon he gonna take credit for Orange Turd.
Listen to her repeatedly call him the Orange Turd.
If you can, do whatever you can for the Republican Party, because what they do is they raise so much money through different groups that are not groups that are on our side.
You're dumb.
We're talking about gaffe after gaffe after gaffe.
Jimmy Connors is Jimmy Connors is good. He's also happy. Jimmy is a very happy man, both of them, because you know what? They want him out. Jimmy Carter had a bad reputation. Right now, he is considered a totally brilliant president by comparison.
We're talking about gap after gap after gap.
But you know, you did get lucky with that one, Don, because they don't know the difference between Jimmy Carter and Jimmy Connors. But we can't have a Trump rally without some good old-fashioned lies.
The one thing that's doing well is the stock market. You know why it's doing well? Because I'm leading in every single poll, and people think we're going to win. And the stock market, and it's been written about by Scott, some of the great people, they're writing that if we ever lost, if this election wasn't won by us, you'd see something like in 1929. The stock market's only doing well because everyone thinks we're going to win. We had a great stock market. But it's going up because we're leading in all the polls. If bad polls start coming up, we don't want to let that happen. You know, they're trying to rig the vote through this crap they're doing, but it's backfired. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Look at what he's doing with Israel. Look at what he's doing. This man is destroying our country. He's destroying our allies. And you know what? I was tough on our allies, too, because our allies always took advantage of us. But once I got him straightened out, it was fine.
The man couldn't even finish a lie without giving himself credit and thus exposing it as a lie. That is hard work. That is hard to do. That is like when your own vices are battling it out in your head, and as always, your arrogance and your megalomania won out. But this one is my favorite.
When I'm president, we will not allow our colleges to be taken over by violent radicals. And if you come here from another country and try to bring jihadism or anti-Americanism or anti-Semitism to our campuses, we will immediately deport you. You'll be out of that school.
Is that what you think? That the protesters are coming from outside the country? Like, is that what are they saying on Fox News?
We're talking about gap after gap after gap.
All right, it's time to wind this down. Do you have anything heartfelt to say?
I also want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms in America, and especially to my wife, Melania. I'll be home in a little while. And we're also thinking about Melania's incredible mother who just passed away, Amalia, one of the most beautiful women inside and out that I've ever known. So we want to say hello. She's up there looking down right now. She's saying, that's a large crowd of people.
I can only imagine Trump at a funeral. Here lies Winston, and I'm sure he is so happy looking down from heaven at all the people who showed up to his funeral to listen to me.
I love these Saturday evenings. Is there anything better than a Trump rally? If some of these wackos came along, you know, these liberal singers said, actually vote for me. You know, they all vote for me. They say, oh, Trump, I don't know. You know, like Bruce Springsteen. We have a much bigger crowd than Bruce Springsteen, right? Much bigger.
So that was the move in New Jersey. While you're insulting these liberal singers, the person that came to mind to trash was Bruce Springsteen. That was the move. Wow, the way your brain works. You sure you don't have nothing negative you want to say about, John Bon Jovi? Why don't you go ahead and take a run at Frank Sinatra while you're at it, and then close with Snooki from Jersey Shore. Oh, Don, this is your crowd.
A tender-hearted woman's song for half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she sighed.
The man that I worship is also a convicted felon.
We're here in Sunset Park
to worship and bring back the greatest president we've ever known.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
You know, battle by day, love at night, which needs birth control and dental dams.
You can't make this up. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, I put out a poll this week asking if you guys would want me to do a grab bag of all the crazy MAGA-isms on the internet and that you see on TV.
The Democrats were the ones that were for slavery. The Democrats were the ones that came up with the Jim Crow stuff.
Even if all of that were true about slavery, which party flies the Confederate flag today?
A lot of the Democrats.
A lot more people need dragging than I typically have time and space for, so why not just get a bunch of them out of the way? And by the way, there was one video in particular that made me want to do this.
See you later.
Out here acting like me walking into senior prom. I know nobody wanted me there. I know I didn't have no date, but I'm an actor part anyway because I know cameras is on me. I know that trick. Now, I obviously wanted to address this, but I couldn't pull it out into a whole video, so this is the perfect forum for it. By the way, send me what you think the name of this segment should be. I'm unsure if I should go with You So MAGA or like MAGA So Crazy, almost like You So Crazy, Martin Lawrence's joint back in the day that my mother would have whipped my behind if she knew I was listening to that tape. While we're on the topic of Donald Trump.
Because of MIT, my relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark.
This man's so wild, we had to get him an interpreter, and shout out to Midas Touch for this one.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asks this question, and it must be because of MIT. My relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight, and you're in the boat, and you have this tremendously powerful battery, and the battery's now underwater, and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Did you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are cray, he said. There's no problem with sharks, they just don't really understand. A young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking and water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and then get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I'll tell you, I didn't know the answer, he said. You know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current going through that water. But you know what I'd do? If there was a shark or if you get electrocuted, I'd take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the Shah.
You know, I think I prefer the second one. Yeah, I think I prefer the second version. It just has more feeling, you know? Donald, like, I just didn't really believe your reading, you know? Why don't you try something else?
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
Wow. You have been out here lying for decades and you're this bad at it. I would think with 50 years experience of anything that you would be much better than that. What is it, 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell said you need to become an expert? You have well over 10,000 hours of outright lying. I expect better from you. I really do. I expect better from you. I mean, how have you navigated all those divorces not being able to lie better than that? I mean, what were you saying when you coming home after seeing Marla Maples when Ivana started asking questions? No, I was not with Ivana. Well, I don't really want to say because it's a lot of phony stuff with Marla Maples, and I don't want people to get involved with that phony stuff. That can ruin lives.
You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
9/11, yeah. JFK, I'm with you. Jeffrey Epstein, yeah. Well, Why would Donald Trump be so circumspect about exposing the secrets of Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire child sex trafficker who died in prison, without revealing which of his well-connected elite friends knew about and possibly even participated in his revolting and illegal activities? Who you can see here joking and ogling women at a New York party in 1992 with a local financier named Donald Trump. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, Trump once told New York Magazine. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
And Fox News made it even worse by trying to hide it. They cut that part out of rebroadcast of the interview.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General.
Which just draws more attention to it. How have you guys not learned this by now? Y'all look like me when I was 8 and I took all of the Oreo cookies from downstairs and hid them in my closet and then moved my dresser drawer in front of my closet so nobody could get to it. You think that's a little hot? I'm just saying, you think that's a little hot. And Fox News really is on a roll here. This whole segment could have been named after them.
She's imprinted on the country permanently that she is a really shallow, uneducated, and uneducatable person, and that other than her weird laugh, there's no really significant part to her. No.
You know, I wonder what it is about her that gives the air of shallow and uneducated. I wonder could it be the law degree? Could it be the law degree that gives the air of shallow and uneducated? Could it be being a former U.S. senator or perhaps attorney general? I'm not entirely sure what it is about Kamala Harris that makes her have no redeeming qualities other than a weird laugh. I can't imagine, Newt. I can't imagine what that is.
And I got to tell you, if they become the majority, we're in trouble. I mean, do you want people whose motto is, and they took this right out of the 50s and 60s, battle by day, love at night, which needs birth control and dental dams.
Dental dams? Dental dams? I haven't heard dental dams since 8th grade family life class. That's the last time I heard dental dams. They really need to get rid of their DEI program at Fox News. They really do. Their DEI program, that's not hitting it. No, that is not hitting it. No, I don't think she has any redeeming qualities other than a very weird laugh. Shallow, yeah, uneducated.
How does that work? Do you want a dance party or do you want to go live in your parents' basement? Like,
Finesse the language, but home ownership, the American dream, that's what these young people want more than a free beer.
Now wait, wouldn't the free beer come with the dance party, right? The free beer would come with the dance party, and that's the one that Trump is doing, right? Trump is doing the dance party, so it's a dance party with no free beer? Huh? I'll take the basement. Yeah, I'll take the basement. Yeah, I really would. And what is this about a mortgage and purchasing a house and all that? You mean like the things they would do if they had money that they weren't spending on student loans that you're actively preventing Joe Biden from forgiving? Is that what you mean? And by the way, as bad as all those were, nothing, and I mean nothing, would top this.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans and our faith in the criminal justice system. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family, and they recognized that this was a clear-cut case and that clearly no one's above the law.
This is a very political exercise, and you have to say that it accomplished what it set out to accomplish. But I would say this about Judge Noreika. I think she ran a very fair courtroom. She ran a very fair trial.
I guess we all need, to shop at Banana Republic from now on? Because that's what it feels like. Yeah, a Banana Republic. For years, the Bidens have been able to escape any legal accountability for their sleazy, corrupt conduct. But today, their luck ran out. At least Hunter's did.
Power is all they love. And they're willing to do anything to cling to it. They're willing to destroy the rule of law. The Republic has been wounded by weak lawyers and talentless political bloodhounds. It gave me a little boost of confidence in the American legal system, although they still have a lot of work to do to win me back.
I believe that there was a conscious collusion of allies that came together. It's pretty obvious, with a private strategy to eliminate a common shared adversary. Hunter's going to jail, so Joe doesn't have to. And when he comes out, he'll be rewarded for his loyalty, like a made man in a Biden crime family. This is a distraction from the influence peddling and the kickbacks.
The wildest part is they still have news on the front of the desk. Yeah, it's crazy. Tell me you worship the man without telling me you worship the man.
Oh, President Trump is a convicted felon. Well, you want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon. And he was murdered on a Roman cross.
We're here in Sunset Park to worship and bring back the greatest president we've ever known in our generation.
That's right. You actually said it. You actually said the thing that you are trying to deflect and deny when you get accused of worshiping the man. There it is, right there in 4K. And by the way, I made a whole video about the cult of the convicted felon. You know, the thirsty dude who wore the convicted felon t-shirt on the plane. Make sure you check that out. I'll put the link in the bio. I'm just asking, do y'all have any idea what y'all sound like?
I don't understand why we're here. Because you all, for the longest time, as long as I've been alive, and I'm the son of two Republicans, so I've heard this in my household a lot, you're the party of free markets. You believe that Democrats regulate too much, but you've hauled these three here to tell them you don't like how they're investing in the free market. You don't like how women make decisions about their bodies, and so you're banning abortions. You don't like how families make decisions to get pregnant, so you're banning IVF. And now you don't like when businesses invest in climate projects. And by the way, it's a little bit ironic because you have done nothing, as long as I've been in Congress, to mitigate against climate chaos. You've contributed by doing nothing to make the risks higher. These folks go out and, in their own investments, mitigate against the risk, make money for the people who work for them, and now you're saying they shouldn't do that.
Which brings us to the worst MAGA of the week.
Republican Senate candidate Larry Hogan in Maryland, and again, I'm asking this in your capacity as one of the co-chairs of the entire Republican Party, and he's a popular former governor in Maryland. He wrote this right ahead of the verdict. He said, quote, "Regardless of the result, I urge all Americans to respect the verdict and the legal process. That is not the Republican Party line at the moment. And in fact, he was attacked by the top Trump advisor, Chris LaCivita, who wrote that he, quote, just ended your campaign, end quote. Does the Republican National Committee support Larry Hogan for Senate?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't support what he just said there. I think it's ridiculous. And I think anybody who's not speaking up in the face of really something that should never again have seen the light of day, a trial that would never have been brought against any other person aside from Donald Trump.
But does the RNC support his bid?
The respect of anyone. Well,
he doesn't deserve the respect of anyone?
He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point. And quite frankly, anybody in America, if that's the way you feel, that's very upsetting to hear that.
So are you willing to cede the Senate seat in Maryland to the Democratic Party and not support Larry Hogan?
What I'll tell you is that we, of course, want to win as a party, but that is a shame. And I think he should have thought long and hard before he said that publicly.
Are you willing to use Republican Party resources to support his bid or not? It sounds like you're saying you're not.
Well, I'll get back to you on all the specifics monetarily, but what I can tell you is that as the Republican Party co-chair, I think he should never have said something like that. I think that's ridiculous.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't know we had a late entrant. I had no idea, but I think she might have legs. I really think she might have legs. That is crazy. You are out here willing to sacrifice a Senate seat for what crime exactly? The most milquetoast thing that you could have said from the beginning of America's history up until 2016. But all of a sudden, now that's a crazy assertion to make, that you should actually respect a jury's decision. So crazy, in fact, that the head of the RNC is threatening to pull her support for a Republican challenger for a Senate seat. Then had the nerve to try and say he should have thought twice before he said that.
He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point. And quite frankly, anybody in America, if that's the way you feel, that's very upsetting to hear that.
So are you willing to cede the Senate seat in Maryland to the Democratic Party and not support Larry Hogan?
You think you should have thought twice before you threatened to sacrifice the Senate seat? Huh? You think you should have thought twice? I actually think we need to do a study. Somebody needs to call NIH because it seems apparent that mouth diarrhea is contagious. Yeah, it seems that mouth diarrhea is contagious because we started with Trump and now we get his daughter-in-law who hasn't been around this her whole life. And I'm assuming when she joined the Trump clan as just an innocent young social climber, that she wasn't out here talking this greasy. Now all of a sudden she's willing to sacrifice a Senate seat live on CNN because somebody said they should respect a jury's decision and the rule of law. You gotta wonder. But we do have that challenger to the worst MAGA of the week, MSNBC's Katie Tur.
If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine.
I'm just playing. She's still undercover. Katie Tur. She hasn't announced herself yet. Yeah, the worst MAGA of the week, conservative commentator Laura Loomer, who dropped these brain turds after Hunter Biden was found guilty. Now, my first instinct was to drag her to the white meat. That was my first instinct, was to drag her to the white meat. However, in the process of gathering my armaments, I realized how much it was dragging me down to spend any more of my life with Laura Loomer, like either directly or on the internet. It's almost like you see somebody in the street and you don't want them to touch you. Like I'm just making like a semicircle around her very existence. Virtual or real life, and I feel like the worst punishment of all is her having to move forward day by day as Laura Loomer.
Welcome to hell, mother...
They targeted not just your dad, but also your wife. And I think a lot of people sitting at home would say, well, that's pretty cynical. I mean, this is someone who attacked your own members of your family. And what we learned from this testimony is that not only did Donald Trump know about it, he coordinated it.
Look, I understand, but I knew then it was lies. It was lies then. It's
But you didn't
lies
know
now.
Donald Trump himself was
coordinating. Of course I did. I
coordinating
said
it.
he did. It was obvious. And at the end of the day, I'm a big boy.
Texas, I need to holler at you for a second, Texas.
Whose man's is this? I need to know.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, welcome to another edition of the saddest man in America. The first, of course, being Bill Barr. And not to be confused with the saddest woman in America, who is, of course, Nikki Haley.
Over to see me at Mar-a-Lago, sir. I will never run against you. She brought her husband. Where's her husband? Oh, he's away. He's away. What happened to her husband? What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone. He knew.
Donald Trump had a rally today. And in that rally, he mocked my husband's military service. And I'll say this. Donald, if you have something to say, don't say it behind my back. Get on a debate stage and say it to my face. If you mock the service of a combat veteran, you don't deserve a driver's license, let alone being president of the United States. Of course, many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. They're just too afraid to say it out loud. Well, I'm not afraid to say the hard truths out loud. I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution. I'm not looking for anything from him. My own political future is of zero concern. So I hear what the political class says, but I hear from the American people too.
A few moments later.
I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account, who would secure the border, no more excuses, a president who would support capitalism and freedom, a president who understands we need less debt, not more debt. Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump.
But anybody who's surprised that Nikki Haley turned around and endorsed Donald Trump clearly wasn't following her continued antagonism of Black America and her continued assertions that America was never racist, despite the fact that her family was able to immigrate, in large part thanks to the work of Black folks and the civil rights movement. Her father worked at a HBCU, and she wouldn't even run or serve under her own given name. That's right. If you stay ready to hear garbage out of Nikki Haley's mouth, you don't have to get ready to hear garbage out of Nikki Haley's mouth. However, the saddest man in America right now is none other than Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So Caitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not.
It's not? It's not? It's not? Because where I'm coming from, it's pretty much a yes or no question. And it's funny you should call it a ridiculous question, because I could make a compilation video of Republicans refusing to answer said yes or no question. In fact, that's actually a pretty good idea. Stay tuned.
Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. You've ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
But hold on a second. What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times.
But
no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
Hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
So, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely.
Okay, so first of all, his assertion of, do you ask the Democrats that is hilarious. Like, yeah, man, we caught you with all of the money from the bank. Yeah, it had all of the dye packs in it. It was all over your pants. You left fingerprints all over the door handle when you came in. And at one point, you took your mask off to wink at a young lady who was in line. So we need to ask you exactly where you were this afternoon. Did you ask everybody else that? What you asking me for? Did you ask my brother? Huh? I also have to love, was there a peaceful transfer of power? Oh, okay. So because it didn't work, it's all forgiven. Wow, that is going to be music to the ears of a great number of failed criminals that are currently in prison.
In 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so... Look,
and what happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
Yes. Who can't remember in 2001 and in 2004 and also in 2016, all those Stop the Steal rallies that happened after the election and politicians calling around asking if they could find a couple thousand votes, and all of that momentum carrying on into the following election, pushing at a crescendo. I believe it was late 2001 where we all gathered on the National Mall and then ran up onto the Capitol and burst through the windows and had all the lawmakers scurrying. Of course, it didn't work out because we were all wearing skater pants at the time because it was 2001. That's probably why skinny jeans came into fashion.
So you're asking, will you promise no matter what to agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens? And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections. Elections get overturned. Voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post-Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
The media
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
You only ask Republicans that.
Because it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that. So we've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that. So my question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud regardless of what happens.
But was there fraud in 2020?
Of course there was fraud in 2020.
No, there wasn't, and you still objected.
You know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
But you're saying zero voter fraud occurred. That's what you just said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome of that election.
Okay, but that's a different statement.
But no, it's not. Because if it wouldn't have changed
you said there was no voter fraud.
There was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, and you know that, Senator.
This man is a child. This man is a child. Were you saying zero voter fraud occurred? So I mean, you saying zero voter fraud? Well then I can't say. I can't say that I would certify an election because if there was voter fraud and but then you said there. Shut your ass up.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
you wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election?
But do you know why I wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
This is a whole lot of words for not being able to answer, was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election? Whole lot of words. Whole lot of words. It's the sound and fury signifying bullshit.
The best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go. But hold on. What did Congress do in 1876?
How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, I have to know, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect.
This cornball just asked her, what did Congress do in 1876? Do you realize how far away we are from you being able to answer either A, if you're going to certify the election, or B, if there was voter fraud that would have changed the election in 2020? You are so far away. You're deflecting and you're ducking and you're dodging, and your cowardice has taken you all the way back to 1876.
I don't know that anyone ever thought the National Enquirer was a reliable news source. I'm not sure aliens arrived yesterday. I'm not sure Elvis is living in Des Moines. And so when they wrote the story, it was absurd. Now I will say, you know, the National Enquirer wrote that my father killed JFK.
Mm-hmm. And he said they mashed two photos together to create.
Yeah, they created a fake photo, and I will say my dad was pretty pissed. And although he laughed about it, but he was still like, what do I do? And I just said, look, Dad, it'll be fine. I will tell you the best response to that happened shortly thereafter. Marco Rubio at the Senate Republican lunch, he actually stood up and told all our colleagues, he said, look, I can tell you for a fact, there is no way that Ted's dad killed JFK. Because if a Cuban had done that, he would have told everyone.
I can't wait to bend the grandkids over my knee and tell them about the good old days where my father got accused of killing JFK. Yeah, a whole assassination of a president. Yeah, that was hilarious, man. Those were the days. And then after that, I'll tell them about how I used to get punched in the face in grade school. Yeah. When I was in college, they used to lead me around campus by my ear.
But when you hear that, I mean, he said he directly tied it to you gaining popularity in the polls. I mean, do you feel like that hurt? People do read that at supermarkets. Yeah. Do you feel like it hurt your campaign?
It was a rough and tumble race. It was, I will say, Donald Trump and I have a different relationship than most people in Washington, because in 2016, I fought him repeatedly. I beat him over and over and over again in 12 states, but he ultimately prevailed. He beat me.
Yeah, he lied when you beat him the first time in Iowa.
No, I would say you and Donald Trump have a similar relationship, the exact same relationship as he has with the rest of the GOP. He be whooping y'all ass.
And, you know, when he became president, I had a choice to make. I could be pissed. I could be pissed off at what he'd done. But if I was going to do that, he'd just been elected president. I got a job. I got a job to represent 30 million Texans. And frankly, if I was going to let my hurt feelings make me say, I'm not going to work with you, I needed to be prepared to resign my job and go home. And I made a decision then. I said, listen, I'm going to go represent 30 million Texans. I'm going to fight. I got on a plane. I flew to Trump Tower. I sat down with him, spent 4.5 hours. This is the week after the general election in 2016. And what I told him then, I said, Mr. President, we have an historic situation. The voters have given us control of the White House and both houses of Congress. We can't waste this. And I told him then, I said, listen, I want to roll up my sleeves and go to work and lead the effort to deliver on our promises. And as I look back to the Trump presidency, I think we accomplished incredible victories for the American people.
That is the longest, most eloquent explanation of butt kissing I have ever heard.
But this moment, what you said there, you talked about your family. They targeted not just your dad, but also your wife.
That's right, your wife.
And I think a lot of people sitting at home would say, well, that's pretty cynical. I mean, this is someone who attacked your own members of your family. And what we learned from this testimony is that not only did Donald Trump know about it, he coordinated it.
Look, I understand, but I knew then it was lies. It was lies then. It's
But you
lies
didn't know
now.
Donald Trump himself was
coordinating. Of course I did. I
coordinating
said
it.
he did. It was obvious.
So if we're scoring at home, it came out of Donald Trump's hush money trial, according to David Pecker, who was in charge of the National Enquirer, that not only was Trump aware of the information that was coming out about Cruz's family and Marco Rubio's family, he was coordinating it. Not to mention, of course, the retweet about Ted Cruz's wife. Yes, he was behind all of this. And what say you, the big man from Texas?
At the end of the day, I'm a big boy. And as I said, I could have made a choice. Listen, if I were a private citizen, I could decide my feelings are hurt and I'm just going to leave. But if I do that, I can't do my job. And I care about my job. And I will say, if you look at the people of Texas, under almost any measure, the people of Texas were much, much better when Trump was president than compared to now. You look at, we passed an historic tax cut. I worked very hard with him on that. It produced incredible economic prosperity. We had the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years.
But do you think of the tactics that he used to get
I don't
where
like
he
him.
was?
I can't stand him.
Do you think he would have been the nominee had he not done stuff like that?
I don't know. I think Donald Trump is a unique character in American history. There are things he says and does that I like. There are things he says and does that I don't like. I'll tell you what millions of Americans love about him is that he's got backbones and guts.
Ah, yes. Backbone and guts. Like the kind of stuff that will have you defending your father and also your wife. You know, not just your family of origin, but your current family as well has been assaulted. And backbone and guts might be the thing that would have you defending them. All that good old backboning. Let me tell you the thing that people love about Donald Trump that I don't exhibit in any capacity. You did all that bending over backwards to do all that massaging of Donald Trump, getting all in the folds, in the front and the back folds, and yet I don't see your name on here nowhere. Nowhere. How is Marco Rubio, the one that had jokes about your dad and JFK? Marco Rubio is on the Trump VP list. Mike Flynn is on there. So apparently you can have a record. Maybe your dad should be on there. Even Nikki Haley is on there, but no Ted Cruz. I need to know how it feels. I need to know how it feels to bend over like a pretzel, have this man run roughshod over your own family, and to what end? To what end? And you know what, Texas? I need to holler at you for a second, Texas. I need to holler at you because I have saw fit to address you a number of times. Some of it's been positive in the case of Jasmine Crockett out there killing it. Some of it has been negative, like in the case of the clearly partisan and low-key, not even low-key, high-key racist pardon of Daniel Perry from your governor, Greg Abbott. Texas, this your man's? Huh? This your man's, right? Because y'all always like to say, don't mess with Texas, right? That's what y'all like to say, don't mess with Texas. Isn't that what Greg Abbott asserted to? Stand your ground laws, right? We defending the homestead, stand your ground laws, don't mess with Texas. This your man's? Huh? This your man won't even defend his own people. Won't even defend his own people. The man went to Mar-a-Lago and had lunch with the man. After he came in his home, slept in his bed, drove his car, and went and showed up to the kids' play. Like this man just had his way. And he went to Mar-a-Lago and had lunch with the man. That's y'all? I'm talking about the dude who went on vacation when y'all was having a disaster. That dude. Cancun Ted. I'm talking about Cancun Ted. I asked in the beginning, whose man's is this? But we know. It's your man's. What exactly you gonna do about it? Congratulations, Ted Cruz. You are the saddest man in America. If you have anybody you would like to nominate, go ahead and put it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. She also told jurors about when she spanked Trump, quote, right on the butt with a copy of one of his magazines.
The jury's engaged, they're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously. And
Really seemed to relish saying orange turd.
Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page so you get notified when the next video drops. Now, if you're anything like me, you ain't been paying no attention to this Trump hush money trial. And the reason why is simple. The next time this man is held accountable for his actions would be the first. I have absolutely no reason to think that this is the moment in which he finally has to pay for his many, many transgressions.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
I have no reason to think that any more than I will be watching SVU in the 4th episode of season 8 and be like, oh, is this the time where Olivia finally loses her badge? No. We are in May in an election year. I have absolutely no reason to think that. And for that reason, I ain't really been following the day to day. But that don't mean I don't see these memes. That don't mean I don't see these memes and these jokes. So for those of you that want to get caught up on what everybody else is laughing at, this is what I'm here for you today to present. Let's start with the one and only David Pecker.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
And no, that is not a joke. That is his real life name, who in 1999 took over AMI, which is the publisher of several supermarket tabloids, including Us Weekly and Men's Journal, and most importantly, the National Enquirer. I should probably do a whole video about media conglomerates at some point. I had no idea Men's Journal was out here hanging out with National Enquirer. I had no idea. They got the same pappy. Let me find out that I am getting tabloid workout tips. I had no idea. Well, David Pecker testified that he was asked by Trump and Michael Cohen in August of 2015 at a meeting, quote, what can I do and what can my magazines do to help the campaign? Throughout that meeting, Pecker said he would run and publish positive stories about Trump, negative stories about his opponents, and use AMI's vast network of sources to let Trump and Cohen know if there were any negative stories that could potentially go public, saying, quote, I could be your eyes and ears. And some of these stories that were published about Trump's opponents during that time, quote, bungling surgeon Ben Carson left sponge in patient's brain. Or how about conjoined twins died after Ben Carson's botched operations? Boozing Ted Cruz, destined to lose. Donald Trump blasts Ted Cruz's dad for photo with JFK assassin. Family man Marco Rubio's love child stunner. And last but not least, Senator Marco Rubio's cocaine connection. Marco Rubio, Ben Carson, I don't really need to talk to Ted Cruz because we already know that he has no sense of pride in himself for him not even defending his own wife. But here y'all are, still caping for this. He was complicit in publishing Senator Marco Rubio's cocaine connection. Ben Carson, Mr. Gifted Hands, he talking about you leaving sponges up in people's domes. y'all should be with Ted Cruz. Y'all go ahead and hang out with Ted Cruz in the no spine section and see if any of Ben Carson's friends could help get them on the implant list. Now, when news of Stormy Daniels' alleged affair with Trump started to come to light, Pecker refused to purchase her story. And yes, I smile a little bit on the inside every time I say Pecker during a hush money trial involving a porn star, saying, quote, "I told Michael Cohen after paying the doorman story and the Karen McDougal that I wasn't going to pay anything further, and I wasn't a bank," he testified. "There is no possible way I buy the story for 120 grand, and I don't want anything to do with a porn star." Okay, let me first rewind. There was a doorman story that they caught and killed earlier about Trump having a love child. Karen McDougal allegedly had an affair with Trump that goes back years, but she apparently didn't want the story to become public. She just wanted to use it as leverage to get back into the public eye. Okay, now, David Pecker saying, "I don't want anything to do with a porn star." How about your mustache, sir? How about your mustache? Does your mustache want anything to do with a porn star? Because it looks like your mustache is very at home with a porn star, as is your surname, sir. You most certainly need to look in the mirror, or go ahead and look at your checks that are coming in via AMI and the National Enquirer. Since when is the National Enquirer too good for anybody?
Well, Donald Trump is in the bowels of Manhattan in a courtroom listening to a porn star. I mean, is she even a star? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can confirm that yes, she is in fact. And in that vein, let me say, I'm not going to be holier than thou. I, at this point in my life, have reconciled that most of my heroes, and certainly those involved in politics, and so certainly those with money, wealth, and privilege, are involved in dalliances that wouldn't go over well at Sunday school. I know that at this point. I just assume that at this point, okay? This story on his face, honestly, doesn't really bother me. It really doesn't. It really doesn't bother me whether or not he got it in with Stormy Daniels. What bothers me is the lying. When you insult my intelligence by not admitting the thing that we can all see, that opens up a whole host of other questions of things you might be lying about.
I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book, and at my request, they have removed it.
That specific meeting didn't happen?
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders.
But you
there's
do
some
talk
that are
about
in the
meetings
book.
with world leaders.
There's some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book. Many
but why
of them,
are there
actually.
two specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong-un and talking about him, and a specific memory? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write that?
I've specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years. And over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed.
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not meet with Kim Jong-un?
That's the answer that I have for you.
Enter Stormy Daniels, who previously told CNN that Trump said she reminded him of his daughter. Trump came on to her in a penthouse hotel suite where he answered the door in silk or satin pajamas that reminded her of Playboy mogul Hugh Hefner. And you know, on the inside, he just, yeah, it could have been anybody creepy. She went with Hugh Hefner. Daniels described what was in Trump's hotel room. She described the dinner conversation. She was impressed that Trump asked her about the business of the adult film industry and not just the sex. And that is pretty on brand. He would really be focused on the business aspect of sex. She also told jurors about when she spanked Trump, quote, right on the butt with a copy of one of his magazines.
The jury's engaged. They're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously. And
Daniels then said that after she went to the bathroom, she emerged to find Trump on the hotel bed in his boxers.
The jury's engaged. They're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously. And
a t-shirt. She said that Trump stood up between me and the door, not in a threatening manner. He didn't come at me. He didn't rush at me, nothing like that. But that later led to an encounter during which she said she blacked out.
The jury's engaged. They're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously.
But does remember that it was unprotected.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
So this man is such a germaphobe that he doesn't even want to eat when he's traveling to certain countries, but he out here freewheeling it with a professional. Trump would throw a temper tantrum during Daniel's questioning, and I will defend him here because I really think that there isn't a man walking the earth that wouldn't throw a temper tantrum, having to sit there quiet while somebody told a story of how they handled their business. I think we all would throw a temper tantrum. Like, even stuff that's not even like, that's in bounds. Like, yeah, I don't necessarily want her to know I do that thing with my feet. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, we all a little, you know what I mean? He does get a pass on that one. However, Trump's ego needs to be stroked by everybody, and I mean everybody. He made a point because he met Stormy Daniels at a golf tournament. He made a point to confirm that celebrities like Aaron Rodgers, Charles Barkley, and Ben Roethlisberger were at the tournament, but also made sure to get it into the record that he performed well, that he played well at this tournament. This man is in a hush money trial for allegedly paying for silence during a dalliance with a porn star that he met at a golf tournament, and he is focused on people thinking he played well at the golf tournament. That is the level of vanity that we are talking about here. If he handled that poorly, I can't imagine how he handled the late night appearances.
But I think most telling about the testimony today was that this was a masterclass in cross-examination.
Oh, yeah. Let's see how that went.
That's right. That's how Donald Trump's day went today. The woman he has paid more money to than any woman he hasn't married, criminal defense attorney Susan Necheles, repeatedly called her client, Donald Trump, the orange turd on what she thought was an effective cross-examination of Stormy Daniels. So imagine Donald Trump sitting in that courtroom today, slumped in his chair, leaving his eyes closed for long stretches, being forced to listen with eyes closed or eyes open to one of his criminal defense lawyers on whom he has lavished money provided by his political contributors. Listen to her repeatedly call him the orange turd. And Donald Trump is, of course, the most vain human being who has ever entered that courthouse. But his colossal vanity combined with his even more colossal stupidity leaves us unable to tell what he was experiencing. A normal person couldn't be more humiliated. Donald Trump? Was that the first time he's heard himself referred to as the orange turd?
That was the masterclass? Jeanine Pirro.
This woman, there's something off about her. There really is.
Now, these are the tweets that the defense referenced. And Laura Ingraham was not happy.
You notice that Anderson Cooper really seemed to relish saying orange turd? How many times did he say it? Well, we didn't have the drinking game going, but we might as well have. Again, humiliation of Trump. The only goal here.
Apparently by his own lawyer, but of course you wouldn't let facts get in the way of a trash narrative over at Fox News. So I gotta ask you, why are y'all so mad?
In her 2 days on the stand and in other exhibits entered into evidence, Daniels comes across as not only an angry shrew, but an angry shrew who's also an extortionist.
Oh, I get it now. I get it now, because you worked so hard to get to this point in your life, and you have just sworn complete loyalty and fealty over to Donald Trump. But he's looking over here. He's over here hollering at the Karen McDougalls and the Stormy Daniels. He would never look at you the same way he looks at Stormy Daniels, to the point that finances have even been affected. Money has allegedly changed hands because of how much he's looking over here, and he wouldn't look over here for 2 seconds. I get it. This is just hardcore pick-me behavior. I see you, Laura Ingraham. Well, it's just a matter of time before Trump markets the Trump Daniels tape with a free copy of the Constitution attached, and you can get all of the orange Jesus that you want, including the skin that Stormy Daniels said felt like a 60-year-old, which I guess, given his age, it's actually not bad. Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records to hide the repayment to his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, for the $130 grand payment to Daniels. He has denied the charges and the alleged affair, which makes you wonder, what would the motivations be of somebody, not named Laura Ingraham or Jeanine Pirro, of somebody making up an affair with Donald Trump? What would their motivations possibly be?
I'll tell you, Laura, this woman, there's something off about her. There really is.
Now, I'd agree with you there. I will agree with that. First time for everything.
You notice that Anderson Cooper really seemed to relish saying orange turd?